Good morning. Welcome to the First Religious Society, Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. My name is Dawn Pelletier, and I am your worship associate this morning. We come together as a church community, online and in person, committed to love, peace, and justice. Our core values are authentic connection, courageous action, love, spirituality, and wonder. Our mission and our invitation to all of you is to come as you are, journey together in love, act with courage, transform our world. If you are visiting today or joining us for the first time, welcome. We are glad you are here. To access this morning's order of service, please click on the QR code located on the paper in your pew, on the link which you will find in your reminder email that was sent this morning, or in the links just below the live stream for all of you that are online. For those that are here in person, I hope you will stay after the service to come to the Passion Action Fair, where you can learn about many of the things that are going on here at the First Religious Society and how you can get involved. All are welcome. Every Sunday, we say that is no small thing that we have gathered. Each of us comes with our needs and desires for this sacred time. So let us give ourselves to it. I welcome one and all to our church and our worship service. Thank you. It is good to be together.
Our call to worship this morning are the words of Reverend Carol Thomas Cecil. Come in, come home. Bring all that you are to this wonderful space, blessings and burdens, joys and sorrows, laughter and tears. Come in, come home. Rest a while in this sweet place of covenant, comfort and care. Lay each burden and sorrow upon pillows of strength and support. Come in, come home. Settle into this house painted with wonder, tinted with awe, and bound by covenant. This is your sanctuary. This is your haven. This is your home. Come in and know this. We have been waiting for you. You are faithfully called to worship. Each week, we light our chalice as we gather together for worship. The chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith and our commitment to this beloved community. This week, we are going to do this ritual slightly differently by having each of you light your own individual candle as we light the communal chalice that is on the altar. I also invite those of you who are at home and online to light a candle or a chalice. As we do this, know that it is your light. It is your light that makes up our collective light. And this has been true for as long as you have been coming here and will be true in perpetuity. Please rise in body or in spirit and bring your candle with you. Let's join together in saying our chalice lighting words, and as we speak again, light your candle in person or at home. The words can be found in the online order of service or in the card on top of the hymnals in your pews. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. And why don't we hold our candles into the air? Those of us who are here and at home, my friends, this is our beloved community. This is our collective light. You may be seated. And please turn off the candle only to preserve the integrity, and we can use them again. We had a long debate about that. But their candles aren't actually ever out. I know. Each week we also light 2 candles of peace, representing 2 places on earth we lift up as a sacred encounter with our world. There are untold numbers of places on earth that need peace. These 2 we especially hold close in this service and through the week ahead. After each candle is lit, I invite you to speak the words for peace in English, Arabic, and Hebrew. Peace, salam, shalom. Our first candle this morning is lit for Memphis, Tennessee, where last Thursday another act of gun violence occurred, killing and injuring innocent people. We continue to work for change so that there are sensible gun laws in place, protecting the safety of everyone and making a dramatic and necessary change on this continued unnecessary violence and trauma. Peace, salam, shalom. Our second candle this morning is lit for our earth, her mountains, water, her forests, as here in the Northeast we celebrated the fall equinox on Tuesday. May this autumn usher in days of peace. May our wonder and hope be restored, and may our vision for peace be clear. Peace, salam, shalom. We will now join together in our opening hymn, number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath. To honor the safety of all who are here gathered in person, we ask that you take in the music from Lee's beautiful voice, refraining from singing, while those of you participating online sing your hearts out. Having a finicky microphone.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer
Lee. Please rise in body or spirit, and let's join our voices in our affirmation of faith and the doxology, which for this time we will be singing together until it is safe to sing again. The words are in the online order of service or on the cards on top of the gray hymnal. Love is a doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. From all that dwell below the skies, let faith and hope with love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung through every land by every tongue. You may be seated.
Good morning. I'm Julie Parker Amory, Director of Faith Formation and Spiritual Exploration. Several weeks ago, I posted a survey to get an idea of what FRS members and friends are seeking in terms of faith formation and spiritual exploration. The results, frankly, did not surprise me all that much. Respondents indicated overwhelmingly that what they seek, what you seek, are two things: a deeper connection to others in the community and an opportunity to explore your own beliefs. This did not surprise me because I remember with visceral clarity what it was that held me so strongly to the congregation of my youth, and which fostered such a deep-seated love of church life that carried me to where I am today. Authentic connections to those around me, and safe space to ask and explore the questions that challenged me. Together, those are what makes participation in a community meaningful. They're much of what makes life meaningful, and they are central to our Unitarian Universalist identity, as stated in the third of our 7 UU principles. We covenant to affirm and promote the acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth. In a congregation of our size, I think that the best way to build deeper connections is through small groups. Many of you have experienced a deep communal experience through participating in chalice circles here at the FRS. There have been a number of other offerings over the years: spiritual autobiography classes, spiritual direction groups, story sharing circles, that have also helped foster deep connections. But each of those endeavors has required a significant number of staff and/or volunteer hours, making it logistically impossible to engage a good percentage of the congregation in these sorts of programs. We've been wondering if there might be a way to involve a large number of parishioners in small groups that would function largely on their own. We introduced the idea at the start of the pandemic when we set up care pods, groups of 5 to 8 people who met virtually in whatever way they chose, simply to check in or to reflect on a reading, to share, create endeavors, to talk about what they've been binge watching. The general feedback from participants was that they appreciated the opportunity to get to know other people, but they would have liked a little more structure. This is where the Spirit Group comes in, a congregation-wide program we're starting this fall. A Spirit Group is a group of 4 or 5 people which comes together virtually for 1 hour each week to delve into an array of issues relating to the Spirit. The purpose of the Spirit Group is to deepen connections among FRS parishioners as you explore your own beliefs and values. Spirit groups will be randomly assigned. Once the group is formed, members will determine a day and time to meet regularly. Each week, all Spirit Group participants will receive a prompt, something on a spiritual or philosophical theme. This might be a provocative question or a link to a brief article or video. Themes and questions might include: do science and spirituality complement or contradict one another? Are humans innately good? Is one born with an innate purpose in life, or does one create it? What is the purpose of prayer? Each weekly conversation will last for an hour and will include chalice lighting and reading, personal check-in, reflections on the theme, discussion, and closing. These are, of course, big questions and not meant to be covered in the span of an hour. The time spent with your spirit group is intended to expose you to different ideas and to give you food for thought and further reflection. Spirit groups will run for 10 weeks, after which time the group may choose to continue. If the whole group does not wish to continue together, individual members might choose to join a new group. The first session will be spent on extended introductions, icebreaker questions, and reviewing the group covenant. Fall groups will begin the week of October 17th. A link for registration will be posted in the Steeple newsletter, upcoming orders of service, and the website, or stop by my table at the Passion Action Fair to sign up.
This is the time in our service when the offering will be greatly received. If you are worshiping in person, we are encouraging you to make your donation online using your mobile device. We'll be sharing how you can do that in a moment. The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of the church to live out our values, missions, and ends both in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering, not designated as a pledge, goes to a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. The September shared collection will support the Jeanne Geiger Crisis Center. Every year, the center helps over 1,200 victims of domestic violence, including both adults and children. In addition to your contribution, please consider participating in the Jeanne Geiger Crisis Center Walk Against Domestic Violence on October 3rd. Domestic violence has increased with the stresses and isolation of the pandemic, so this work is more important than ever. At this time, we encourage you to make your offering online. If you are viewing the order of service on your phone or on your computer from home, there is a link you can click in the order of service or in the video description where you can make your contribution. You can also text a contribution by sending the word GIVE FRSUU to the number 73256. If you would prefer to make an offering by cash or check, you can take the time to fill out the information as the music is playing, and there will be baskets you can use as you leave the service. And of course, you can always mail a check to the church as well.
This is a time in our service when we lift up the joys and sorrows among our members and friends. I will share those that I have been told in advance. You can always email me your joys and sorrows by Friday and or put them in the basket on the welcome table outside of the sanctuary front door. As I share these, Reverend Helen Mergida, our pastoral care associate this morning, will light the candles. Those of you online are also invited to share a joy or sorrow in the chat, however we will not be able to read it aloud. We light a candle of concern this morning for Jim Kidd's sister Evelyn, who lives in New Jersey and is very ill. We also light a candle of sorrow for Nancy Kidd's dear friend Jerry, who is on hospice and is nearing the end. We light a candle remembering Joe Brule, who had surgery on Wednesday. He is recovering well, and we pray for his and Barbara's full and complete recovery from their respective surgeries. We light a candle of joy this morning for Caitlin Hogan, who shares that she has been studying a lot and hopes to do well going back to college. We light a candle of joy as Vern Ellis celebrates his birthday today, and for all those who are celebrating birthdays who perhaps have hoped we weren't aware. Happy birthday. We light one final candle this morning for all the joys and the sorrows that, although unmentioned, are held in just as much love and care in our hearts. I invite you to join me now in a moment of centering, meditation, prayer. As I share a prayer entitled, "This Sacred Life." Gathered together this morning, sitting side by side, we feel the warmth, the love, the support, tangible in this community, in person and virtually, as close as the breath of the person beside us or online, as deep as the heart within us. How fortunate we are to have this, and how easy it is to forget it. Later, as we leave this shared time and space, each of us this week facing the world around us, how easy it can be to feel alone, bothered, overwhelmed, stressed. May we always remember that there is among each of our days, each of our minutes, a peace that passes understanding, a sacredness, a connection to this beloved community that is always there, waiting for us to awaken, waiting, welcome us home. May it be so.
Tears and laughter and give yourself
Thank you, choir. Unitarian Universalism is a faith founded on covenant, or promises we make to one another. In this reading, we will offer and experience a brief glimpse into this, after which I will offer my reflections on the history, purposes, and promises of covenant in our shared religious community and in our lives.
In 1637, the white settlers in what was to become the town of Dedham, Massachusetts, wanted to start a church. What they longed for was sincere religious association based in love and founded in freedom.
The idea of a free church took shape among the people, a church whose individual congregations were controlled by no outside authority, a radically lay-led church gathered by mutual consent rather than by mutual belief, founded in covenant rather than creed, and governed by the congregation itself.
10 years later, this basis for gathering and governing was described in the Cambridge Platform, which remains a defining document for the people of faith, including Unitarian Universalists, who continue to practice congregational polity.
What our religious ancestors proclaimed in 1648 is still true today. The communion of churches is exercised by way of mutual care in taking thought for one another's welfare, in case of need, to minister relief and support unto another.
And so, I ask that now, please rise in body and spirit. And as you do, please turn and face those on the other side of the sanctuary. So turn and face those on the other side of the sanctuary. I will look at the congregation. Dawn will look at the camera to bring those watching online into a shared covenant. Let's join our voices together with the words printed in your order of service. We, your family in faith, affirm the shared ministry formalized here today. We offer to you care and succor. We commit to taking thought of your welfare as a congregation. We call upon you for the same, for we have promised one another that we will be a beloved community. We have found that there is always more to learn about how the love really works, could work, in our lives and in the world.
Please be seated.
I feel like I don't need to say anything else, but I will. Anyway, I have them ready to go. And this morning I'm going to be removing my mask. I do want to reassure everyone that I've taken 2 COVID tests at home, both of which came up negative. Woo! I am so glad to see you. It gives "see" a whole new meaning. And I thank you all for working with us and walking with us as we figure this new reality out. I think what it tells me is that anything that separates us is not what we're about. It's just not. There's enough of that in the world. So in her book, Traveling Mercies, the author Anne Lamott talks about why she makes her son Sam go to church. She writes this: "The main reason is to give him what I have found in the world, which is to say a path, and a little light to see by. Most of the people I know who have what I want, which is to say purpose, heart, balance, gratitude, joy, they are people in community who practice their faith. They are Buddhist, Jews, Christians, people banding together to work on themselves and for human rights. They follow a brighter light than the glimmer of their own candle. They are part of something beautiful. It sounds a lot like what we have here, doesn't it? A flock of beautiful souls doing our best imperfectly, as I always say, doing our best to make sense of life, to care for one another, and to respond to the inequities in this world, locally and beyond. We freely come together as one congregation, united in love, with service as our prayer. Each week we affirm a covenant or promise to one another. Love is the doctrine of this church. Go ahead, say it with me if you know it by heart, and allow yourself, if you don't, to just soak in the beauty of these words. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. We say those words each week, yet what do they mean? How do they guide us, help us make decisions, set priorities, or settle disputes? We have no creeds as Unitarian Universalists. A creed is a set of beliefs used in religious context, generally believed to have come from God. Love is our doctrine. A doctrine is a set of beliefs created by a person or a group of people that is used not only in religious contexts, but also by political parties, other civic groups, many other groups. A covenant is a promise made with free and mutual agreement. It is a living example of the democratic process, foundational to Unitarian Universalism, historically and in the present day. A covenant can be made between two people or a group of people. Covenant is often created by the same people who then agree to it. The word covenant has its origins from Latin, convenire, meaning to go with. Covenant is how those who have chosen to come together journey together. Living in covenant is a privilege and a responsibility. As Unitarians, Universalists, we use covenant in all areas of our religious life. In addition to the congregation, we use it in small groups, including staff teams, between ministers, between congregations, and with our larger Unitarian Universalist Association. We also, as Julie mentioned, covenant to affirm and promote the 7 principles of our faith listed on the back of your order of service and in the hymnals. Our mission and covenant are interdependent. Our mission, again, which you hear every week, come as you are, journey together in love, act with courage, transform our world, which is, by the way, within ourselves, between us, and in the larger world. That mission explains why we are here. The covenant states how we will be together. The history of covenant in religious settings goes back to the Old Testament and Judaism. The first covenant being between Adonai, or God, and Noah, when, after the flood, God promises the world will not be destroyed in that way again. The second covenant between Adonai and Abraham, the father of the Israelites, is when God reveals to Abraham that his seed will spawn a great nation. Circumcision in the Jewish tradition is a symbol of that covenant. The third great covenant was the revelation of God's many laws, including the Ten Commandments, to Moses on Mount Sinai. Covenant in Unitarian Universalism is horizontal rather than vertical, meaning it is a promise made between people who are accountable to one another. Such use of covenant is born out of the Cambridge Platform, signed in 1648 by the newly forming churches in colonial America, which we just experienced. These churches were concerned with civil organization more than theology. They believed, and I quote, that the church should reflect the ethic of the larger society, and what they longed for was sincere religious association based in love and founded in freedom. 21 of the 65 congregations who voted to approve the Cambridge Platform in 1648 are Unitarian congregations today. This Cambridge Platform outlined in detail how the newly organized churches would function in terms of leadership, ministry, membership, placing the authority clearly in the congregation and its members. Conrad writes about this in his book, Walking Together. He says, what is the difference between a collection of religiously concerned individuals and a church? Covenants still serve their essential function, which is to make church out of a collection of individuals, to establish community. Though it may sound obsolete, the principles laid out in the Cambridge Platform lay the foundation for our nation's founding and still influence religious and political thinking today. Much of this is good, though not all. Covenants have been used as weapons to ensure power over others, most often to maintain the power of the dominant group. It is something for us to be aware of and sensitive to in our own workings and discernment. For example, we need to be aware of the cultural norms, recognizing the differences in how cultures deal with conflict, express affection, engage in worship. In addition to historic interests, covenants have real and lasting value in our day-to-day lives. They exist in marriages and other committed relationships, as well as groups we join. Covenants create boundaries. They serve as tools for decision-making, and they provide inspiration over the long haul and during challenging times. They remind us that we are far more than ourselves alone, and of the necessity of balancing individual needs with those of the larger good, something we can too easily forget on our own. We become better people and often more intelligent, writes the Unitarian Universalist Association Commission on Appraisal. We become better people and often more intelligent when we make the intentional choice to create connections and stand in a collaborative community with one another. Carl Scoville, minister emeritus of Boston's King's Chapel, which is actually the oldest Unitarian church in the United States, describes covenant as a remedy in a world where self-interest has gone too far. Covenant has a remedy in a world where self-interest has gone too far at the expense of others and our earth. He says we live in a world today of now and wow. He talks a lot about social media in that perspective. We get snippets that are now and wow with no context, no tradition. He says it is a world of shattered meaning. Covenant is what calls us back to the values we hold most important and the promises we make one another. Ministers Rebecca Parker and John Buren's write covenant because of its connection to hope. It's about a community's commitment to a vision without which we all perish. The issue of covenant was raised in our church last year, both as a point of clarification as we voted on our values and our mission and our ends, and also in relation to conflict that arose during our annual meeting. Hopefully, it's become clearer that our newly adopted mission statement does not replace our long-held covenant. Rather, the mission statement guides us in how we actualize our covenant in our priorities, our ministries, and programs of the church. And so too can our covenant guide us in our relations with one another, including how we make space for differences of opinion and understand conflict as a source of creative tension and greater wisdom when held within the loving arms of our covenant. Our parish board will be holding discussion groups this fall, inviting us all to discuss our covenant, and I sincerely hope you will participate. As I move into the last bit, I want to speak to the role that covenant plays during liminal times, such as right now. Liminal times when what was is no longer and what will be has not yet become. When things are in transition, such as now, as we're emerging from the pandemic. During times like this, I ask you to reflect on yourself. I know it's true for me. During such times like this, we are at risk of exhaustion, loss of perspective, lack of hope, turning against ourselves and other people, looking for someone to blame. Our emotions are more on the surface, raw and variable day to day. One of the many, many benefits of church during such times is that we call each other to our better selves. And our covenant reminds us what we are for in this world, not just against. We feed our souls by being connected and choosing to be part of something larger than ourselves, like this beloved congregation. And I'll close with words of, again, Reverend Rebecca Parker and John Buren's. They write, "This is what we do in progressive religion. In the midst of an economic system that increasingly treats humans as expendable dead wood, we insist on restoring heart wood. We offer a framework of covenantal commitment. We live by shared hope. We make a path by walking it, not alone, together. And we pray that along the way, those who walk with us will be converted and will make a deep personal commitment to its radical form of hope, not for themselves alone, but for everyone." Amen, and blessed be. And let's rise and body our spirit again. No, yes, whatever. We're not going to sing while we're here, but you're welcome to stand. Online, please sing your hearts out. Let's take in the beautiful meaning and words of Blue Boat Home.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean,
Please join now in our unison benediction. The words are in your order of service. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. I do invite everyone in person to join us outside for fellowship and the Passion Action Fair, and to enjoy Astor's harp music as she will be outside playing with us. The ushers will be inviting you to leave in an orderly fashion from the back of the sanctuary. My friends, before we go, I wanted to reflect and say that there are things we have learned and gained from this time in our lives, from this pandemic. We have learned how to hold on to what is good. We have learned how to have faith in each other and in this beloved community. We have learned how to pivot, how to be creative, how to be open-minded. Yet, I fear, we may have thought we've lost something. The muscles of returning together, the muscles of remembering this church community, the muscles that say you are part of a beloved universe and a whole world. We are never meant to be apart. We are meant to be connected in body, mind, and spirit. We are never alone. My friends, as you go from here today, may you hold that truth in your heart and in your mind. May we turn to one another, the neighbor, the stranger, the family, and the friend, knowing we are one. Go in peace, my friends, and return again in great joy. Amen, and blessed be.